once AR, VR can become like a contact lens that you can kind of like, it's just part of your body. And then there will be hundreds of millions of people who want to use it.
Everyone will it. Welcome to Lockstock FM, where we feature entrepreneurs, provocateurs and thought leaders from around the world, and we certainly are around the fucking world today.
Oh yeah.
With Luke Nolan in the house. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
So good to see you, mate. Where the fuck are we, mate? Like,
we are in Al Marmoon Desert,
right,
in a conservation area,
okay,
which is kind of part of the kind of wider Al Qudra Desert. And you may be able to see in the background, you can pick out parts of Jebel Ali Port and the marina further down there. So on a clear day, that's probably about 30 kilometers.
It's unbelievable, mate.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's truly unbelievable. I've just moved in here to Dubai, and I bumped into you. Well, I didn't.
Day one.
Not by accident, but the first person I call is Luke. No, we go back a long way, right? I've known you for 12, 13, 14 years.
It must be that. I mean, who remembers, but
Yeah, and so we met in Shanghai, and back in those days, I've done a few guests already on the show, and most of them have actually been from my days in Shanghai. And out of all those people, you are probably the craziest one.
What an honor.
Yeah,
I love it.
Congratulations.
It's a big statement.
Lots of crazy people.
I have a lot to keep up with.
And that was because you were pieing with me in Mint.
Yeah, that's true.
And we first met in Mint, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And both heavily intoxicated.
Yep.
And we were both finding our feet, weren't we? And we were having a good time. And tell us about your backstory, how you got out there, and where you were before you started the big business, which we're going to talk about later on.
Yeah, for sure. So I went out to Shanghai. I think probably a similar reason that you got there was just an adventure.
Yeah.
I didn't know why I was going there or what I was going to find, but something told me that it was going to be good. And I mean, probably everybody who grew up in Europe knew that China was kind of coming. And the more that I talked to people about it, the more excited I got. Mm-hmm. So one thing led to the next, and yeah, China, of course, like when we moved out to China, it was like the kind of perfect storm. You had, the biggest population in the world, kind of becoming an urbanized society of people with, a dream to fulfill and a mission to accomplish, and it just felt like every single person was hustling, including us. So, and I think, like, look, Chinese people are, very gregarious. They love to have fun, right? So, evening celebration was like part of the
yeah, so that's one of the big things that people forget about Chinese culture is the drinking culture.
Yeah.
Right? And we were right in the middle of it because of my DJing and your party scene. Before you got out to Shanghai, where are you from?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about background, work experience, etc., this kind of thing.
Yeah, good point. So I grew up in Europe. I'm Irish Portuguese. Grew up in Belgium, in a place called Antwerp, a full mutt. Yeah. I studied in England. I studied in Spain, Italy. I was in Milan before I moved to Dubai, Shanghai, and I guess I spent, let's say, the first 20 years in traveling a lot, but primarily in Europe. And with the Portuguese and Irish family, I was on the road a lot. So summers in Portugal, kind of generally, like as a family, we traveled quite a lot. But so maybe because of that, I felt like I have this bug that I need to travel again, and I need to kind of go on an adventure of some sort.
My mum calls me a gypsy.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. At home, anywhere. I mean, literally, for people often ask me, like, when are you going home, and like, where should I go home? So yeah, so that was it growing up. Like, I knew I wanted to. So for me, it was like, okay, maybe I'll go to the US, or maybe, but something brought me to, I felt, okay, I want to be in a developing country where it's kind of like new and kind of like early. So it was like Eastern Europe, India, China, Latin America. I mean, those were the kind of choices. And I considered Romania, I considered India. At first I thought maybe I would go to Hong Kong, but pretty quickly I narrowed down Shanghai. So that's how I got there. I studied finance at the beginning, and I thought I'm going to be an investment banker. Probably just like like a lot of young teenage guys just have this kind of idea of Wall Street. But after a little stint in an investment bank, I knew that was not my path. And
it's too boring, right?
It's too corporate. I mean, it's like a very clear route to making money, but yeah, it was missing that like pure kind of like the hustle of going to developing country. So that's kind of what brought me to China. And, not really knowing what I was doing, I spent the first 6 months learning Chinese. And then real estate was an industry I thought was just something that I could just get involved in immediately. And yeah, the first thing I started doing in China was hustling as a real estate broker with a bunch of Chinese brokers in an office and just going around trying to do deals. So it was, again, back to the perfect storm thing. Prices were going up, money was flowing in, people were making money, developers were investing aggressively, and it was kind of
alluring, wasn't it?
all possible. Yeah.
So how is your Chinese now? Still around, or is it?
Well, the Dongwen 差不多.
There we go. Another guy, another foreigner, white, Balao-eyed.
I mean, it's funny. Like I don't speak Chinese as regularly as we did, but there were those years where you had to speak it every day, right? Like there was just no way around it. Like so many people didn't speak any English, so we were kind of forced. And back to the drinking culture, like a couple of shots of baijiu will very easily open your confidence.
Improve your Chinese levels. Certainly to yourself. Whenever I was drinking, I used to think, wow, my Chinese is so good. I'm not sure if anyone actually understood what I was saying.
Yeah.
Right, I do remember the Chinese way when you were there, as a white guy speaking Chinese. Not many people expected it when we were first there. Towards the end, more and more people. Yeah. But my always favourite part was going to America and having that lift scenario where you're in a lift with some people and they're talking about you in Chinese, but you're in America, so no one thinks you can speak Chinese, and they're saying something, and then you reply, exactly. I basically made my entire life became worthwhile for that one of that episode with some cute girls.
100%. So good.
So that was enjoyable. So today we want to talk about, of course, your experience in Shanghai, but of course more on the businesses that you got involved in, because a lot of people that are watching this podcast want to, they want to get inspired by the people that get on here, and you are a very inspirational character, if I might say.
Thank you, man.
You've come from what I've seen, and we could actually tell people that we actually almost lived in the same house, didn't we?
We actually, we lived. We
shared a house.
There was a building which was called The House.
It was called The House,
and there was building A and B, right?
Yeah.
And I think I was
the Pimpers.
Yeah.
And you were in A.
I was in A. You were in B. And then at some point, you moved me to B. It was like,
so my house was called it was a 9B. It was a house. It was called. My friends called it the Milky Way. Because I used to say, I'm the number one DJ in Shanghai. And then, well, why don't you just say, Asia? Well, why don't you say the world? Just say the Milky Way. So that's how somehow my place became the Milky Way. So I was in there partying, and they thought, oh my God, this guy parties too much. We got to get him out. And I was like, okay, I'll leave. And then you came. And they were like, whoops. And your parties were really crazy, weren't they?
I think you summed it up well the other day. It's like, because you were DJing, you closed down the party to go to the club. Yeah. But I did it the opposite way. I'd go close down the club to come back to the house when everyone
4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah, when people were trying to sleep.
Yeah. So we go back to the house.
I'm gonna start one of these.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. I need to have one of these. Right. So we're available for sponsorship on Lockstock FM.
Nice.
These guys are paying us millions of dollars. C4 recommended by Luke.
I've got Midnight Cherry. What have you got?
I've got Frozen Bombsicle. Cheers.
All right.
Now, this is a superhuman performance drink.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about later on also, because this is a very interesting thing about Luke. Gone on from being alcoholic to entrepreneur to ultra marathon guy. But let's talk about student.com, which was your...
Yeah.
Can I say it's like your thing? Now, that's how you would be. If I was to say one thing about you, it would be that business.
Yeah, it's what I spent all of my 30s doing. So I started student.com I was probably 28. It was like 2010 that I started basically working on what became student.com. So kind of from 28, I'm 41 now. So it's literally my entire 30s. So
wrinkles, mate.
That's it?
The wrinkles.
Yeah, a few gray hairs. Yeah. It definitely defined a big part of my career so far, and it's how I spend a lot of my time. And look, I think everybody who was in China at that time, as all the expats and all the Chinese, everybody who lived in any city in China, I think, would have seen the same thing that I saw, which was you've got 100 million people per year who are kind of in this education system. So you've got the 60, 70, 80 million high school students, and then 20, 25 million university students. And you have this massive investment in education generally, right? And a lot of people want to study abroad. And you imagine China used to be a country which the only way that you would study overseas was if your parents were politicians or multimillionaires, or you had a scholarship, right? So there's kind of like very, very small numbers of Chinese. Suddenly you've got this massive middle class, and everybody can afford to send their son or daughter overseas. So I think everybody saw that, and there was this, even when we started student.com, there was a huge industry of education agents, like the Zhongjie, like the New Oriental, I think there's something like 16,000 individual education agencies, and then loads and loads of counselors and hundreds of offices. So that was there. But the one thing that was missing was imagine an industry where everyone used to live on campus, but now you've got, suddenly millions of new students, primarily from Asia, China, India, Southeast Asia, going to those classic, Ivy League schools in the US and, good universities in England. And there's just too many students. So finding a place to live was very quickly a big problem. And in that kind of perfect storm scenario, Europe was kind of dealing with post-world financial crisis economics and the generally lack of investment. And China was, still kind of booming and had lots of investment. So I saw two things at the same time. One is like, okay, every Chinese person I know as a teenage son or daughter wants to study abroad. And then I had like property developers in Australia and in England and in the US looking for Chinese capital. I'm like, hey, this Chinese money should build student housing in Western countries where you've got good universities, and then there's going to be students living there. So that's what I kind of saw in 2010, and I started working on it. And pretty quickly after working on this business, I realized like there is no way to book housing. The Airbnb existed, Booking.com existed, but we're not talking about booking a hotel or a vacation rental. We're talking about something for a semester or for a full year. And that just didn't exist. So, basically we just copied Booking.com and Airbnb, but for students and in Chinese. And, when like, as I say, I don't think I saw anything that no one else saw. And every single person I said like, hey, I've got this idea of like, creating this Airbnb for students from China. And everyone was like, oh man, that's such a good idea, right? So we just went out, but like ideas are many, right? It's just
ideas
in the end, it's the execution. So
just having the balls to go out and actually just do it, even if you don't know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, we didn't know, and we were kind of pivoting along the way, many times. But what we did know was like with basically no marketing budget, we had just huge demand. And on the supply side, every developer out there just wanted to work with us. I mean, I was just calling people, from my broker days, I knew how to cold call. So I was just calling people in Texas and in Sydney and say, hey, I've got students in China. Do you want them?
It's such a good skill to have.
It's so.
It's you've got to turn off your emotions. And you've got to think to yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Because a lot of people are terrified of making that call.
That's true. That's true.
And I think as if you're starting a business, number one thing is just stop giving a shit. No one cares. Just get on the fucking blower and just
100%.
Call these people up, because the worst that can happen is say they're not interested.
Exactly.
And the best that they can say is, I'm interested. And you've got a new client.
Exactly.
So Student.com's business model is not owning inventory. It's
correct.
It's being the middleman between the inventory and the end.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we have a couple of million beds on the platform, and we take a margin of the total rent that somebody pays, whether they're staying for a month or a year or whatever. So it's essentially a performance-based model. If I own property, there's not really any cost to get it on board other than the time, and the effort. You might boost with some marketing budget, but basically it's a per lease model. So getting supply took time. As I say, it was the cold calling at the beginning. Then it was a business development team. But
so who was the first? What was the first property you got on board? Can you remember it?
Yeah,
what
sure.
The moment that you got the first bit?
So
a lot of people struggle. They see the end goal.
Yeah,
they see, okay, this is how the business will look in the future.
Exactly.
That's kind of like the easier one to see. But the first step, what is it? What was that first one?
I decided to go for UK first because I myself had studied in London, right? So I knew London, and it was a place I could easily get to. And I just made a list of the top 20 operators. I cold called all of them. I convinced one of the guys. The biggest company at the time was called Unite, publicly traded company. So big portfolio. I think at the time probably 20,000 beds. And I convinced one of the guys. He was on a trip to Taiwan, and I convinced him to come to Shanghai. So he met me in Shanghai, and he was the first one to sign up. And off the back of that, I signed everybody else up. And at the same time, we were building the site. At the end of that summer, we had 76 bookings, which sounds like nothing, right? And but it was just a test, right? But all of those guys are like, man, this is great. If you can send us more, that's going to be great. So like, the next year we did like almost 1,000 bookings. So we had that classic, like, startup growth where just like everything is going right. And England was just, one kind of starting point. We then went straight to Australia, and then from Australia to North America. But yeah, it all like the very first booking I remember so well was a girl from Hangzhou. And like, a week later she got her friend who also was they were going to Sheffield. And I think the property was IQ Steel or IQ Brocco. Like there was two Sheffield properties back then, which is, honestly, we didn't know what we were doing, but we knew that both the students and the landlords were really happy.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the really interesting things a lot of people ask me. They always say, they have this vision of entrepreneurs kind of, but you know so much about stuff. And I always try to explain to people that actually, I don't really know much about anything.
Yeah.
Just have some balls to just try it. And as long as you're kind of one page ahead in the manual of everyone else, you kind of seem like an expert. Yeah. And I guess that's all you really need to know to start a business. Just be slightly ahead. And the more you're spending time in that industry, the more you're learning. And
every meeting you get a little bit better. You do. Every single one.
You do. Yeah. So that was the first year in business and student. That was 2010.
2011 was our first booking season. Previous to that, we were kind of like setting things up. Actually, even before that, I thought the game plan was we would develop our own properties. And I thought, and that's where I was like working with these developers and saying, okay, we're going to do like a property business, which is like aimed at Chinese students, Asian students. But pretty quickly I realized actually the value was not necessarily in the property, it was actually in the platform. And if we wanted to scale to 1,000 cities, then
it would take too long.
Way too long. So better to build a platform and be able to scale on a global level. But yeah, so that was the beginning. It was fully self-financed.
How much money did you put into the business day one? What was the first year?
Day one, because I had already, I already had an office and I already had a setup. It was a test. So
was this your first business on your own?
I had a brokerage business before that. Yeah,
brokering
real estate.
Real estate. Okay.
Yeah, so I had an office. I had a setup, and so it was just like I took one of the guys and I took myself and we started working on it. So it wasn't like I registered a business or financed anything. It was just we were, and in fact, Student.com in China still goes by the name of the brokerage that we had before Student.com, which is Pine River.
Okay.
So
I saw that on your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So what's this?
Yeah, Pine River, right?
Yeah.
Pine River is another whole story, but yeah. So it was self-financed. I mean, I'd say probably the first year we put $100,000 in.
Okay.
You know how China is; the costs are not high, so you start to build up a team, and then over the first few years, I was able to continue growing. Revenue was coming in. We put a bit of money in to expand, but it was primarily it was team, it was marketing, it was travel costs.
Yeah, and then the next step was you VC funded it, right?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Exactly.
I remember the first time I took your business seriously.
Yeah.
Was when I saw I think it was on LinkedIn or something like this, and it was like 2015, 16 or something
exactly,
like this.
15.
And I was like, Luke Nolan raises $50 million or something. I was like, damn. I was like, oh, I'll get my shit together. Because, at that point I'd sold a business before, and I was like 3 or 4 years afterwards, and I was just playing like a lunatic. I was like, dude, so like business wasn't really important to me. So I saw this, and it made me think to myself, well, I need to get back into doing things. So, it kind of inspired me as well.
Yeah.
How did you talk me through that VC process and what was involved in it?
That's it. Yeah, it was so interesting because like even from the beginning, we, when we started, Airbnb already had $1 billion valuation, and I remember thinking like, okay, well, I mean, maybe student housing is smaller than vacation rentals, but it's still very big, right? Like, we're talking about millions of students, and all of them are spending, like, even from the beginning, our average transaction was $10,000, right? So whereas
they repeat as well, right? So
they repeat,
for 3 or 4 years, and then
exactly, that's right, yeah. They repeat for 3 or 4 years. The other way to think about our repeat business is as a university. If you have an exchange program from wherever, could be from China, could be from Indonesia, could be from Malaysia, from Thailand. Every year there's a new class. So once you get that university relationship, that's 100 students a year, 500 students a year, 1,000 students a year. But yeah, so fundraising for student.com was on the basis that there's a massive total addressable market on a global level, right? And we were just like, okay, we had started doing China to UK, China to Australia, China to US, but kind of small numbers with a small team. Like we had 20 people. It was all self-financed. So I ran 3 full years alone. So 2011, 12, 13. At some point in 13, I had a number of really close friends who were involved in building other tech businesses. And I'm not an engineer background. I'm not a technical founder. So for me, it was like I'd hang out with these guys who are, building companies like Spotify. And they're telling me about, million downloads, and 100 million paid subscribers and all this kind of metrics that they're working towards. And I'm thinking, I've got a few thousand students, but I know at the back of my mind, this can be big. And over a number of conversations, I thought, okay, look, if I really want to do this, there's kind of two paths. Either you build this lifestyle business and kind of grow it nicely and small and keep, every year get a little bit bigger, one day sell it for 20 million, or raise big money and go after, the VC funded route, which you kind of like, once you go down that route, you can't come back, right? Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a big decision, but yeah, I spoke to people from TripAdvisor, I spoke to people from Expedia, from Booking.com, from Airbnb, and I kind of like, okay, the travel industry took hotel stock and turned it into essentially a commodity marketplace driven by platforms. And there's an opportunity to do the same thing in student housing. And so quite a few people agreed with me. And one thing led to the next. We raised our Series A in 2015, actually 2014, our Series A, from Lightspeed Ventures, which had an office in Shanghai. Mm-hmm. So they, as a VC, they understood, okay, I can see the China thing and I can see the overseas thing, because kind of like between China.
They had intimate knowledge of the Chinese market.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. They could see it. And
what were you turning over at that point when you're?
We had done probably 40 million of transactions.
Which $40 million
of bookings.
Of bookings.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And what was your margins on those?
At that time, we were probably around 3.5%.
Okay. So the business was reasonably sized.
Yeah. It's like what I was able to do back then was I was able to say to people, like, this is definitely going to work. Yeah. The question is how big it can be, mm-hmm. And what path we're going to take. And so I guess I was fortunate that because of having self-funded in China, so there was like a meaningful scale, right? So like, millions of dollars of transactions and, decent, unit economics. We're making money on every single booking. So, and because I had 100% of the business, I didn't really need anyone's cash. I was able to say like, join us on this journey. So we did Series A in 2014, and off the back of that, Series B right after.
Yeah, because your business was profitable, wasn't it? Already, you'd grown it to a place where you're already making money. Yeah. And it was just an option whether someone would agree with you to make it grow faster.
Exactly.
But it wasn't, I don't need the money by this time, but if I get it, I can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
In this way.
That's it.
It's a crazy story, and I guess those guys now are very happy that they made that.
It's like it's funny because like but a lot of VC funded businesses go through a roller coaster of ups and downs, and we definitely had ours as well. And
so what? Let's give some examples.
Yeah, for sure.
What were the most difficult things you've had dealing with the VCs?
I mean, so at the beginning, everything, when you're first to market and you have a really cool product and everybody thinks you're a genius, it's growing at 10x per year.
Did you think you were a genius? What for?
No, definitely not. But everyone is expecting that you'll grow at 10x forever. Yeah. Right. And so 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, they were all great years. And then suddenly we get to 2016, and I don't know if you remember, but in 2016 was starting, like tech investment started to kind of like hit some stumbling blocks, and generally like there was less capital available. Mm-hmm. And then people were getting like more picky on like, what metrics they wanted to see. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning it's fine, like as long as there's growth, people are happy. Our first big stumbling block was in 2016. We had gone from we had gone from my small office in Shanghai with 20, 30 people and profitable to suddenly we were burning over $2 million a month. Mm-hmm. And people started to get cold feet. Mm-hmm. in the summer of 2016, we had to let go of 42 people in one day. We just realized
You have to do all that.
I did it myself. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, there were
How did that make you feel?
it was painful because, you know, these are all people I'd spent a lot of energy to convince to follow this dream, right? And like, you know, people had uprooted their life, you know, changed company, people had believed me, and then like just you know, a few months later, I'm having to cut costs, essentially forced to cut costs to save the business. So it was like
forced because of the external investors were pushing your hand.
Yeah, you know, like once you raise money and you have runway, then, you know, like you raise 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, but, you know, when you're spending 1 or 2 million a month on growth, of course, you know, we had suddenly like an engineering team that was getting close to 100 people, you know, and these are all super talented engineers, product designers and UI, UX guys.
You get fat quick, don't you?
Get fat quick, and then how many bookings do you have to do to make that back, right? So we then went into like this kind of, I would say, if phase one was me and, you know, me owning 100% of the business and like you're just learning in kind of the 0 to 1, then there was the kind of like fast global expansion and kind of like big branding moment for probably 2 years until we're like, whoa, okay, we're going too aggressive. And then we scaled it back and we forced ourselves to be profitable again. Mm-hmm. And so then we spent kind of 16, 17, 18 on sticking to profitability. And getting the business to a place where, okay, this is a business that can go the distance. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you know, of course, then it's eventually we hit COVID, which is
COVID obviously hit the travel industry, and obviously
exactly. I think we were lucky. We were a little bit luckier so COVID hit, you know, travel and hotels, I think by 80 or 90% overnight because everyone was not allowed to go anywhere, right? And in our case, like Australia closed their borders, so no students could go to Australia. So that business went from like 100 to 0 overnight. But what happened to us was kind of an interesting one. Like countries like the UK and the US, they're like, yeah, no problem, we'll figure it out. It's just like short term. So students assumed that they would still be able to go. So we had a normal booking season in 2020. And then suddenly, you know, there's restrictions. American embassies are closed all over the world. No one can get their student visa. So all these people who had booked had to cancel. So we had a 70% revenue hit at the end of 2020 after.
What was the revenue at that point? What did it go from and to?
We were kind of like on the kind of $200 to $300 million run rate per year. And so we got
big.
Yes, over 70% because there was like a kind of probably 30% reduction in volume, and then on top of that there was a further cancellation rate of over 50%.
You have to refund a lot of people and
refund people. Yeah. So it was kind of carnage. Again, we were super lucky that.
And at that moment, how did you feel about the business?
Yeah, like it was like we were very lucky that we had very supportive investors, and our investors.
They bring more money in.
Yeah, they were supportive. They supported us. I mean, we survived because of that. We have been, you know, close to death on a number of occasions, at least 2. You know, where it's like if it wasn't for our investors, we wouldn't have made it. But you know, people have confidence in the business model and in the future. You know, the student industry actually, you know, other than travel restrictions, generally the student industry is quite resilient because as a student, you know, even if the economy is not going to, in fact, if the economy is not doing well, you're probably still going to study because, you know, I'm 18 years old and I'm going to go to university. Like, what else am I going to do? Or I might not, the job market might be harder. So it might be even more incentive to go and study instead of get straight into the workforce.
Okay.
It's a nice sunset, eh?
It's beautiful. Yeah. That's crazy. Look at this place. Right, well, that's quite interesting to bring us on to the next spot of what we're going to talk about, because the next stage in your life has been another change, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Another gypsy moment.
Yeah.
Another, right, fuck it, I'm going to leave Shanghai, let's do something else.
Yeah.
So I went to Bali 2020 by accident, got stuck, COVID, and that ended my Shanghai days.
Yeah.
But your Shanghai days ended earlier when you moved
to Dubai.
Yeah. What was the reasoning behind that? And, you know, how are we here today?
Yeah, it's a good one. Like I came in, so back to the fundraising discussion we were having. I'm in London, I meet this guy and he's like, tell me about student.com. And I'm telling him, and he's like, wow, that's really cool. Come to Dubai and tell me about it. So these two investors I ended up, who knew each other separately, got me over here. This is 2015. So anyway, we raised the money and I started coming here for board meetings. We agreed that this would be a perfect group structure to kind of tackle this kind of Asia, Europe, Australia.
Right in the middle, isn't it?
In the middle of everything. Time zone wise, like amazing airline that you can fly. You can basically be anywhere in the world in 24 hours. So that was 2015. In 2017, we all agreed that it made sense for me to live here from a group structure perspective. And, over time, 2017, I'm like, still just coming for board meetings and spending maybe 10, 15 days a year. But at some point, I started to realize, actually, Dubai is quite a cool place. So I think it was early 2019. For a while, I kept apartments in both cities, but that's just so messy, right? Like you're kind
I
of
really struggle with that.
Yeah, it's a headache.
I've got places all over, and I feel like I'm spreading myself thin, and I never know what's what. And my Google Home has got like 4 different places. I get annoyed.
Yeah, you don't know where stuff is.
Yeah.
My record was I did 4 overnight flights on Emirates back to back. I did London, Dubai, Shanghai, Dubai, New York in 4 overnight flights. So I basically slept in a plane for 4 nights.
Really?
It's ridiculous.
Between things. So at that point, you were still
I'm still keep in mind, like we still have like over 100 people in our Shanghai office, and we have like our biggest team in China. So of course, that's why I was like, I got to be in Shanghai. Mm-hmm. But then at some point, I'm like, no, I have to pick. And so I thought like, okay, obviously China is our root and China is our home, and it's a country I love, and it's where we built our business. But, we don't want to build a Chinese business. We want to build a global business. It's going to be hard to build a global business from China. So I think it was April 2019, I'm like, okay, Dubai is the place. So I just shut down the apartment in Shanghai and shipped everything over here and set up my life over here. And by the end of 2019, I was a Dubai resident. And then, in January 2020, I'm actually back in Shanghai to celebrate Chinese New Year. And COVID breaks out. And I literally said to the team, like, okay, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Thinking it was another bird.
January 2020, yeah. And they never went back. Have you not been back since?
I have not been back since, yeah.
It's the same for me.
Crazy.
I've still got all my stuff there.
Crazy, yeah.
Like one weekend in Bali, never went back. I feel a little bit gutted about it.
A little bit, yeah. We didn't go by.
We get a good send-off.
Exactly,
see all my friends and things like that. But
crazy, yeah.
I'm kind of in a similar place now. It's like, where do I want to actually be? And that's one of the reasons I've come here to Dubai. I've been in Bali for the last 3 years, and I've been doing a couple of businesses. I've got a couple of crypto projects going on, which we talked about.
Yeah.
One called Dope Wars, one called Ronniverse, whatever.
Nice.
And I've got quite high hopes for them. But being in Bali, I just feel like I'm wasting away. I need to be like in the mix. And out of all the places that I've been, Dubai, when I'm here, it's like boom, like I meet people straight away. Exciting people. I just at the gym, I meet someone in VC. Boom, boom. You're here. I've got other people. You've got an entrepreneurs club that I can join. You've got, and I'm like, Spencer, you're only like 41.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in your prime.
That's it.
Just throw yourself in the mix.
Exactly.
And I've got a very comfortable life in Bali now, but it's too comfortable.
Yeah.
I want to be in the mix, and I want to be
100%. And I think Dubai has the same vibe that Shanghai had back then, right?
It does, similar.
As you say, it's like
it's just starting.
Yeah.
Just
it's bubbling. Yeah. There's lots of people visiting. I mean, the first day you arrived, I think that we put together a dinner
crew.
A Monday crew. It was like 5 or 6 different visitors.
Yeah.
People coming from Australia, from Asia, It's a fun place, and I'm really glad I came here. But I do think it's just the beginning.
So in Dubai now, that's is your the next part of your life.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned you're not fully operational in student.com anymore. You're now looking for a CEO.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
So before we move into your personal parts, let's talk about finding a CEO, because there was a really interesting conversation we had in the car,
nice.
And about how difficult it is. Talk me through what's going on and how you...
So this is, in a way, one of the biggest moments for the company. And I made this announcement to the company just before Chinese New Year. Anyone who lives in China knows about the 12-year cycle, so...
Year of the Dragon next year.
Exactly, yeah.
To make babies next year for Dragon.
Oh, yeah?
That's my plan.
So I started student.com on the year of the rooster. And we're now 12 years later, another rooster.
Yep.
Right? So it's a full cycle. So when I was thinking about how I break the news to the team that I'm going to hire a new CEO, I said, look, it's full circle. We had We had I think it was a metal rooster to start, and now we're in the water rooster. So it is full circle. I think every single founder, entrepreneur who has ever built a company will at some point say, at what point do I give it to somebody else, right? Like, hopefully companies are able to last forever and be in it for the long run. But at some point, every founder wants to move on. And it also depends, like, what kind of entrepreneur you are. In my case, what I love is the early stage of a business. It's creating the ideas, it's the creativity, it's the entrepreneurship, it's the hustle that we talked about before. And student.com has now gotten to a stage where it's much bigger, it's very corporate, it's board meetings, it's committees, it's review meetings, it's process, it's systems, it's structure. It's not my strength, and it's not what I'm excited about or passionate about spending my 40s. I announced to the team, I've been working with our leadership team and our investors. Everybody's behind this. So over the last few months, I'm in the market for a CEO, and I'm excited about what the CEO will bring. I think it'll also bring new energy for the company.
If you've got some balls and a lot of experience, you can Luke, send your CV in. Okay, so that's going to be a difficult project for the next. For sure, it's going to take you a while, isn't it? It's not something you do overnight.
Exactly. Yeah, I want the best for the company. I obviously want the best financial outcome. I want our stakeholders to have a great experience. So I think the worst thing that a founder CEO can do is kind of disappear and leave the company hanging. Right. Sure.
So how much do you own of the business still? Out of interest.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the drivers. I'm now a minority investor, so like, I got diluted in every round.
Through every round, raised money.
I went.
Have you had any exit from it yet? What's the plan? Is there an exit plan or what?
Yeah, I think like, the real exit will be when we have a final liquidity event, which will be an IPO or a strategic sale to somebody bigger.
Is that in the horizon? Can you see that in the game?
Yeah, I think that could happen, but of course it depends on global economy, right? So like under the current conditions, IPO market is not super strong. Last year was a bit of a carnage year for the equity.
You were trying to raise money last year for Rondiverse, and it's just a very hostile market during that period.
Yeah, so you can't really rush these things, and an exit, of course, an exit to a big platform company like an Airbnb or Booking.com could make sense, or an ed tech platform, or somebody who wants that student customer. But the timing has to be right, and so again, I don't think it makes sense to rush, either from my perspective or from our investors' perspective. We do have supportive long-term investors, and I'm a minority shareholder. I can't really make decisions by myself. It is really like about finding a strong corporate leader who can kind of balance the goals of every stakeholder. I think from my perspective, I'm here to support, still leverage my creativity and entrepreneurship to help grow the business, but at the same time prepare for the next path.
Okay, so let's go. Wish you best of luck with that. That's going to
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hopefully you get it done sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So that leads nicely into your personal life.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we were big drinkers, party guys, and I think you still are a bit of a party guy, aren't you? I've noticed. We went out the other night, and you were on the tequilas, and I've not been drinking, so I've definitely curbed my partying. But you are big time into this extreme sports and marathons and ultra, and I'm like.
Yeah.
When I saw you on Facebook when people still use Facebook.
Yeah.
How many decades ago that was? I think it was when you first moved to Dubai. You started getting into doing ultra marathons.
Yeah.
And where did this come from? Was there something you were in before, or what?
When I first the first time I ran, any kind of distance, I went for a run on one of the Hong Kong trails. And it felt effortless, and it felt really good. I think I just have like good genetics for endurance sports.
Okay. Is that what the girlfriend's saying as well, or not?
No, put me on the spot. But yeah, no. So I there's something I love about endurance sports. Just like it's almost like a meditation. And partying was a big part of China for sure. And especially when you're in a role where, as an entrepreneur, you're constantly entertaining people, right? You're taking people out for dinners. And so we were out, in Shanghai, we were out every single night of the week. And it was usually a business dinner and then drinks. And that in itself is hard to sustain. And so for me, I always used running as a way to balance it, right? So I would run a few. Even in Shanghai, I used to run marathons.
Sweat out the tequila.
Sweat out the tequilas. Yeah, I think tequila is a good judge of character, just like Baijiu is, right? It's just like put people on the spot and see how they perform, right? And,
Okay.
I mean, I'm impressed that you were able to
Say no.
Yeah, that's also impressive.
Yeah, most people. I mean, I've had to really shrug off my DJ lifestyle because I want people to take me more seriously in business.
Yeah.
And when people ask me, "Oh, what do you do?" If I meet a new person, they say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, I don't want to say I'm a DJ because it looks like.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to say really I'm an entrepreneur because entrepreneurs kind of sound like you haven't got any money, but you're poor or something like that. So no, I'm doing a few bits and bobs. So I really wanted to. Exactly. So I wanted to like really shrug that whole image off, and it had to do something drastic. And obviously, apart from the obvious health benefits, shrugging them off and being like, right, I'm clean living, like this I'm doing. But I've started doing ice baths and stuff like this. But I'm not an ultra endurance man. So when I was watching your stuff, I was
once you get into it, honestly it's like a drug because once you get it, it's very addictive. I mean, literally, endurance. It releases an endorphin. It's literally a chemical reaction inside the body that makes you feel good and want more. A little bit like the ice baths. I mean, it also like I think we were saying last week. It's like you never feel like you want to go in. Once you get in, you're like, what the hell am I doing? But once you get out, you feel so good.
So is that the same when you're doing the long marathons? You're like, on the start line, you're like, what have I done? How do I end up?
Exactly. Yeah. So for example, last year I did 11 ultra distance races. And so an ultra event is anything over 50 kilometers. Yeah. I think I did 5 50s, 400s, and a 200. And maybe I did a 70 as well, or an 80.
So you're training for these as well, like training hard, or?
I train because I've now been doing it for so long, I don't really have specific training. I just kind of maintain my fitness, and the events themselves are the training. So my last race was in December. I did 104 kilometers in Thailand at Doi Inthanon, which is the highest peak in. And
it's not just the running. You're doing like cross trail ones and like the climb of the arm.
Yeah. So there's obstacle course racing, which includes a lot of agility and upper body strength. Athleticism. You're climbing walls. You're like going over ropes and stuff.
So I came to your house. Yeah. A couple of days ago, and I walked into the living room, and there's like monkey bars and like sticks to climb up the walls and like a massive oversized yoga mat. I'm like, don't people normally watch the TV in the living room? Like, no, we do like extreme sports in our living room.
I know, I love it. It just like, for me, it's as you said, I've still got the party energy. Like I love to have fun with good friends. It's like a social thing, right? It's like to go out, have a few drinks. You might feel a little bit shit the next day, but that to me is like one way of bonding. But I don't want to do that all the time, right? And so for me, like extreme sports, and I mean skydiving, for example, is one thing which I'm going to get you into in Dubai.
I still haven't done it, and you're going to have to push me really hard. Cause I've said to myself, I think about trying to do it, but I've not got the just.
So Dubai is made up for this place, right? For this, because like, the Sheikh Fazza is a big skydiver, and so he put like over $100 million into the drop zone. There's 2 drop down zones. I think they have 7 or 8 planes. So like you go down there, it's like going to McDonald's. You just like jump onto the next plane and
chuck me out of a plane.
But yeah, it's easy. So
do they have an app to order you to be chucked in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's so many ways to approach, and I mean that's the playground that Dubai is actually. You have so much possibility. You can go mountain biking, you can go cycling, there's literally something for everybody.
Mm-hmm. You said you did a run back from here.
So actually,
in the summer,
over here, last February I did. This is the Al Marmoon Conservation Area, and there's a 50k loop here, which I think is taking place in a few weeks. And they also have a 6-hour version and a 12-hour version. Amusingly, it's actually a huge community. But yeah, on that side of the desert, Al Qudra, we ran 100 kilometers on the 28th of August. So I started at 6 a.m. We spent the entire day running through the desert with a Jeep behind us, a bunch of ice
on you.
Throwing ice.
And you got up to 50 degrees, you said?
Yeah, it was pretty heavy, yeah.
Because the summers here are brutal, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, I've noticed that right now, the temperature last
it's really comfortable.
It's amazing.
Dubai gets a rep for the heat, but it's actually 9 months of the year. It's actually pretty decent weather.
Shanghai was always really hot, isn't it?
It's the humidity.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, family.
Yeah.
Any kids on the right? Anything?
Yeah, I think like passing up the opportunity to have kids would be a mistake.
Yes.
So I've definitely not ruled it out. I think it's definitely on the horizon.
I think people get lonely very quickly when they have kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm a big proponent for kids, like, all the fun you have. And I mean, between me and you, we can basically do anything we want. We go anywhere we want, do anything we want. Like, basically struggle to spend money, basically, because it's this, there's only so much time in the day for you to do stuff, right? And you actually end up wanting to do the things that are difficult, not that are easy, because they're the ones that really give you the good feelings, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But without kids, I just feel like at some point your life just becomes meaningless, and I want to pass on everything to them.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, so I think that's my plan as well. And it's funny because when you have your life set up, right, you're building a business, you're traveling nonstop, it's always nonstop entertainment. Like, building a family is something so foreign and so different. And as I've gotten older, I just hang out with like the few like guys who are left who don't have.
There's only what is that? Am I like the only friend left who hasn't got kids that you can still hang out with?
I've got like 2 or 3. Like, there's a few of us, right?
Yeah,
there's not many left. So yeah, but yeah, I think it'll be time to settle down at some point. And yeah, I do want different things from my life. Like, you stop drinking. My life is radically different from what it was. I mean, I almost never step out in a nightclub nowadays. I love going out for dinner and we can have a few drinks.
You used to love it in Mint, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like the stone part of the furniture. Sometimes I sit on your by accident. I was like, oh no, it's Luke. It's not the sofa, right? Okay, it's Luke.
But those days are over, right? And so, like, for me now, I mean, yeah, you met my girlfriend. She's also an endurance athlete, so we share that. It's like it's not about. I mean, she also likes to go out and have a drink and have fun. But now it's a 5 a.m. wake up and it's mountain biking all morning or paddling out in the ocean or some adventure. And so it's just different stage in life.
And it seems like Dubai has got all of that.
It has all of that, yeah.
Because a lot of people think, it's just you just come here for shopping and just like come here for a party, but it's actually not. There's so much more.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, actually, Liwa on the Abu Dhabi side is the biggest sand desert in the world and has the highest sand dunes, like hundreds of meters. Spectacular desert.
You've got that crazy car which you took me out in.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've got a crazy car, a stupid car in the background.
Yeah.
But your car I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a monster truck. Yeah.
But it is a monster truck.
Yeah, exactly.
When you were parking it outside my house, I said, you're not going to get it in there. Yeah, no, I'll get it in there. And I was like, oh my God, here we go. The wheels like this big. And you're taking that up into the sand dunes, right?
Take it on sand dunes. I can take it up into the mountains. We've got the Ras Al Khaimah and Fujir up in the top. Are really like, well, you can get up to 2,000 meter.
And you've got a camp tent on the roof.
Full roof tent, which can sleep 4. It's got an awning. I've got a table. I've got full camping setup. So I can park anywhere, barbecue, and prepare for the.
Any like dangerous moments you want to share with it? When you got like stuck and you're like, I'm in big trouble here.
I've a funny one which made it onto the local newspaper was getting lost.
Congratulations.
So during COVID lockdown, where you remember there was that time where not only are you locked down, you're not allowed to leave your house, except for the supermarket or to the pharmacy, right? So it was that lockdown, which didn't last very long in Dubai, but it was on. And so I decided I wanted to share a brother-sister moment with my sister Tara.
Yes, because your sister's here as well.
She's here as well. So I said, okay, Tara, we're going to go up to Jebel Jais, which is the highest mountain in the Emirates, kind of like in between Oman and the UAE, and we're going to climb it. And I didn't know much about this place. I'd never been there before. I'd read one article online and it gave kind of like rough instructions of how to get up there. So no problem. So we went and parked the car. Not allowed to leave home, but we drive up to the north, and we leave. We probably left the car probably at 7:30 in the morning. So we started early. We went all the way up to the top. It took 5.5 hours. Reached the peak. Brother-sister moment, high fives, backslapping. She Instagrammed all the way up. And then on the way down, because it's a pretty raw, rugged trail, we essentially got lost and went down the wrong side. And we had just day packs. So fortunately, we brought a lot of water, so we were like well hydrated. But we did not have any like headlamps. We did not have really that much food. We had no kind of like overnight equipment, essentially. And we went down the wrong side of a ravine.
This was walking or
trail. Trail. Walking. And we got to a point where there was just a cliff, and it was just like...
It's dead end.
Yeah, it was dead end. There was no way down. I mean, unless you had ropes, which we didn't have. Then we tried to go back up, but that was a bit sketchy. And long story short, like the sun is setting a little bit like this. And we're like, okay, well, we've got like an hour of light, and then we're really screwed, right? And that area is like known for scorpions and snakes. So like that wasn't the most...
Not the best place to set up a camp and go to sleep, because you just wake up dead. We
called a friend of ours, and he's like, okay, wait, let's call... we'll make some calls. And we started speaking to a few people in the mountain. Luckily, we had phone reception. So we started talking to the mountain climbing community. Anyway, before long, it was because of COVID, everyone was stuck at home. Everyone wanted an adventure. So before long, the mountain rescue assembled a team of like 15 people, and these shepherds and goat herders and mountain climbers and rescue police, the ambulance, the whole lot. The whole army of people that came and rescued us from the mountain. And then literally, and the next day on the local TV, it was like a brother and sister stranded on Jebel Jays.
2 cavaliers make it out the mountain and have to send out the team to come and get them back. So what about like inspiration and like books and podcasts and like we're doing now? Is there anything that you read or listen to that you find?
I have this real like a thirst for reading, and I think the podcast format is really, really good for this. So like there's a couple of topics I read on. One is basically anything on the extreme sports that I tackle, right? So I'm just like reading everything and listen to every podcast.
On a mentality aspect, or on a like physically.
Yeah, so mental toughness is a super interesting topic.
Is that the most difficult part of the endurance?
The longer it gets, it becomes all a mental game. For sure. Yeah, like especially...
You got to a point where your body just can't go on anymore.
Yeah, but you still go on, even injured. Yeah. Okay. So that's a whole interesting topic for sure. And there's a whole that's a whole kind of wormhole that you can go in so many directions. And then of course, business I always find interesting. So like one of the most enjoyable books from last year was The Fountainhead, which is not a new book. It's Ayn Rand. It's something like a mixture between philosophy and a kind of commentary on man, and it's fiction, and it's about an architect and a property developer, and the journey that they go through, and essentially there's one hero who's got this dream of building like the coolest, most amazing buildings in the world, and he's kind of before his time, and everyone else kind of wants to they're kind of conservative, stick with the old ways of construction, and he's kind of like dreaming of building these new skyscrapers, and everybody's kind of like got it out for him, and he's just like unwilling to compromise. Yeah, to compromise on anything. Yeah, so that's like a 700-page book.
So it's like quite thought-provoking, is it?
It's really thought-provoking, just on how you want to live your own life and how other people, what kind of people you want to spend time with.
Interesting. And what about Stoicism? Have you read many books on this?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I've got copies of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Mm-hmm. I really like, what it's all about, but I find it a little bit too dry to get through it. I don't know, what was your experience?
Well, I mean, I'm not an subject matter on it. I'm not an expert matter on it. I'm just watching a lot of short form content on the ideas of it. There's some cool YouTube channels that I follow that talk about, ways to try and live your life. And I think a lot of people get lost. It's easy to read it and say it and think it, but actually doing it is even more difficult. Yeah. And I think people, I think if you set your targets, as long as you just achieve some of those targets, that's good enough. Yeah. You don't really know. Like someone said to me the other day, "Oh, but Spencer, you've planned everything out, exactly." I'm like, well, I've got a plan. It doesn't mean I'm going to stick to that plan exactly. Yeah. But it gives me some kind of format of where I'm going. Otherwise, you just wake up every day and you're just doing nothing, scrolling through Instagram and you're just consuming and existing.
And what are your favorite podcasts other than obviously Lock, Stock, FM?
Well, I mean, Lock, Stock, FM is like really hot shit. My favorite podcasts that I like to listen to. The recent book that I've been reading is The Science of Influence, or The Influence of Science.
Okay.
And Science of Influence.
Yeah.
And I forget the name of the guy that wrote it, but it's some amazing concepts in there that you kind of know exist just from doing business, and you kind of know, but reading about them gives you, like, it reinforces the idea and then gets you to try and do it properly. Like, one particular subject was the rule of reciprocity, which is basically embedded in culture since the beginning of time.
Exactly.
Whereas if I do something for you,
exactly,
at some point you feel to do something to me.
Yeah, of course.
Give something back to me. And the way that society is built in society is that if you don't do something back for me, you kind of feel guilty about it. You feel bad because without that feeling, other people won't continue to give to other people because they feel like I'll never get anything back. So it's kind of like an unwritten rule amongst people. Exactly. But you can use it in very powerful ways to get people to do stuff for you, particularly in business, because the first thing that you give to someone, what people normally return to you is normally a lot more.
Exactly.
And it can last for a long time. Like calling in a favour and stuff. And you can't do stuff with the object of it is to get something back, because then it's obvious. Then you're trying to get something out of someone. Then people can smell it, they know it, and they deliberately won't do anything back for you. But if in general you're just doing nice things for people, like for instance, you go pick up a friend from the airport on time, okay, whatever, stuff like this, or you buy someone a drink in a round of drinks at the bar, or whatever. The tiny little things, and it's just a nice way of that's really cool. Reciprocity. And I always struggle with that word because it's hard for me to actually say. It's a very difficult word to say. Social media. Yeah. Have you got Instagram or not?
I do, but I do not log in on a daily basis to Instagram, right? I feel like it's
so distracting.
It's so distracting, right? Not only the scroll, right, but also like the messaging. So I've kind of set up my phone where I can't really see any of these apps. They're kind of like hidden away. So I log into Instagram specifically just if I want to message somebody specifically, or I want to see someone's profile. But even my closest friends, even my sister, even my girlfriend, I don't follow their stories. I miss everything. Now I have been in periods where I've been super active on Facebook and Instagram on a daily basis, and I don't think it's right. There's a right or wrong. It kind of probably depends like where you are in your life and what you're looking for right now. I think social media is a really good. It's a very good way to get ideas, and it's just kind of fun entertainment. But it kind of depends. Like right now, I'm in a phase where I want to consume audiobooks, podcasts. I want to have meaningful conversations with people. And
it's very addictive for people.
It's very
even I struggle. So I'm like, God, I can't get off this. I want to read a book or listen to it instead of scrolling through YouTube Shorts. I mean, I do some of it because I kind of need it for doing this podcast. I stay up to date with certain topics and like being in the know.
Yeah.
And for a lot of my crypto projects, I'm going to need to be present on social media.
Yeah, for sure.
For the success of the business, but I don't know whether I need to actually like be on it and looking at stuff that's going on.
I mean, look, for example, there are so many options, right? So like watching really good videos which are well put together on YouTube, can have in a sense.
Right, so there's some great content.
Yeah,
that's why I read. That's why I read all the things about Stoicism.
Right, yeah, you can actually learn a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love things about our universe and black holes and all that because it's so like mind blowing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What are we? What is consciousness?
True.
Are we even real? Are we in base reality or not? Exactly. And that's actually a cool thing that we were going to cover on this. Well, we are going to cover.
Yeah.
Is VR, AR, AI.
Yeah.
Got interest in it? What's your?
Yeah, I find it fascinating. I mean, for sure, it's just a question of the technology catching up to the possibility. It makes a lot of sense to save a lot of time, using artificial intelligence and using better formats of content sharing and content collaboration and so I'm really excited about it. I feel like we're still early stage. There's a lot of technology that is actually still quite primitive. But it's people's continued investment. It's gonna gonna find the way forward. I mean, AR. So I do a lot of running, as I was saying before. Sometimes it's sessions of 5-10 hours. If I could have glasses that could augment and like turn my run through the hills into a computer game, live, while like streaming some kind of like learning content, and chatting to you, while you're playing golf, that's just so cool. But we just haven't gotten there yet. But I am super excited about.
But it's coming, isn't it?
It's just a question of time.
Yeah. Is it going to be in our kind of active adult life, or is it going to be later on? You just don't know, but technology is moving so fast. But it seems like the VR stuff. You even mentioned earlier on when we were talking about it, the VR headset sales are down year on year because it just doesn't. People are just not adopting it yet.
It's power user still, right? It's just like. Do you remember like people used to use those kind of Palm Pilot type of things? Yeah. And it was just like only certain people were up to use it. Yeah. It was only when the iPhone came that suddenly everyone has a personal computer in their pocket.
Yeah, because they did 3 or 4 iterations of those kind of Palm Pilot stuff.
And like what was
10 plus years.
Exactly, messing around, Yeah. And then suddenly it exploded, right?
So do you think that's something?
Yeah, it's just, I think at some point, AR or VR could actually just suddenly like overnight, explode, and then everyone's like, well, it's just obvious.
Yeah, it was just obvious. It's always obvious in hindsight, isn't it? And
so I do think investment now makes sense. I mean, I'm excited about your commitment to it. I'm definitely interested in. It's just fun to be involved in like really early stage risk taking.
Well, risk taking is part of it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Because you're not quite
just
sure.
Don't know if it's going to.
Kind of got an idea. I think this could work. Can I make it work? Have I got the balls to make it work? And then seeing if it does work, you obviously get.
Because you think, I mean, I don't play computer games, but it's such a massive industry in itself, right? So like, that's the thing is like once I think you were saying in the car, like once AR VR can become like a contact lens that you can kind of like, it's just part of your body, and then there will be hundreds of millions of people who want to use it.
Everyone will, because most people's lives are very normal, if they can just exist in a life where it's much better and they can see anyone they want to be, and it's indistinguishable from real life, which we are going to reach. It's,
I mean, reality check, is this
that's it. Are we in base reality now? Because if we all agree that we are definitely going to, at some point, reach indistinguishable VR, then the chances of us not already being there is basically 1 billion to 1.
100%.
Which is what Elon Musk talks a lot about.
Exactly.
And, I love following the stuff he does because I think he's a very, obviously probably the most inspiring entrepreneur
100%
on the planet, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he works like crazy, working 7 days.
Animal,
absolute animal. Look at this guy. Like, does he, what does he do for fun, this guy? Does he ever let himself calm down? Or It's probably not. And it's really interesting following his journey on Twitter.
It is,
because that's been like flipped on its head. And some of the stuff that's come out recently about what Twitter has been doing. Have you got a view on that? Are you like, because I don't know your political, are you like left leaning, right leaning, or what's that?
I think that it doesn't make sense to be left or right. It's just like the way I see it, it's you have to lean towards the future. Like there's no right or wrong. It's like different.
I like that. Don't lean left or right, lean towards the future.
And I think Elon Musk is... what I like, I mean, he's outrageous, and there are a lot of things I don't agree with him on, but like I definitely appreciate his sentiment. And it's just like, I want to see people committed, and I want to work hard, and I want to do cool shit, and I want to have fun, right? That guy knows how to have fun.
So what's next, Luke?
What's not next? I think for me, I want to live a life which is driven by adventure. That is my purpose. Like I want to squeeze as much as I can out of the life that I've got ahead of me. However long.
Is that going to be in business, or is that going?
Yeah, I think it's going to be in business.
It's got another one in you, or?
I don't know if I would go down another route of a VC funded startup, because I think that's it's all consuming, right? And I don't think that that's the best use of my time right now. But I'm excited about investing in businesses, investing in other entrepreneurs, in starting companies as well, but under different formats and different rules, depending on what's appropriate. But yeah, I'm just excited about investing in businesses, building businesses. I do much prefer the early stages, as I mentioned earlier. I obviously like the student space is a space I know well, and it's easy for me to be relevant and to to participate in, but I'm very interested in human performance because of my passion for sports. So wearable technology, all of the data analytics around that. I mean, I've been wearing a glucose monitor for the last couple months. I'm learning it.
If you put that on me, it would be. I mean, I've had 3 of these. Yeah, so now I'm like on my glucose levels. I'm popping right now. Did it make a big change on yours?
Let's have a look.
Is that actually like popped? Like it's got a little.
It's live, yeah. So let me just give it a reading now and see how it handles C4. Yeah, so you see a score of 84 out of 100. And basically, I've been able to metabolize that sugar relatively well. I think, it might be a lot of artificial sugar, so it's not actually pure glucose. But if you think about, like, a glucose monitor is a very, very primitive device. It's tracking one thing in the blood, which is glucose, right? But your blood is made up of, like, hundreds of different things. And that's just blood. There's also saliva. There's lots of other things in your body that you might want to track. I'm fully embracing a future of cyborg life, if I can, have...
It's crazy though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are scared of it, but I'm like, bring it on.
Bring it on, yeah. Inject me with what I need to, like, perform better.
Yeah.
Like, I went to a Singularity University course, like, years ago, and I remember the guy saying, like, at some point, we'll be able to access Google straight from our brain, right?
Well, Neuralink.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has already happened.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, that was inspiring at the time, and I'm like, yeah, why not? Why should we not, be as hooked up as possible? I've generally, like, I have a Garmin watch, I have a Whoop, I've used Aura. I sleep on a bed which is temperature controlled and, like, basically reactive to my body temperature.
So it warms up at night, and then during the night.
I like to sleep cold, so I get in, it's cold, and it warms up as the night goes on. Yeah, but it essentially learns it. So it's reading my heart, HRV. And it's kind of trying to optimize the experience inside the bed.
Do you get good sleep? Is that one thing? Because I'm terrible. My sleep is just like the worst.
No, I
got any tips? Please tell me.
Yeah, so we were talking about books before, like Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep is I think one of the coolest books ever written. It's okay. I realized we spent 20 years sleep deprived, and now that we're more conscious about it, I've definitely increased my average sleep was probably 5 hours a night. I'm probably now on kind of 7. With the aim to get to 8.
With the quality of sleep.
There's
certain things you're doing to make that quality of sleep.
Yeah.
Good. Like
exactly. Winding down properly.
Like,
yeah.
Not
drinking C4 in the afternoon.
Not feeling these just before you go to bed. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Maybe a tequila shot before you go. And that always helps. Yeah. To sleep has always been a really bad thing for me because I struggle.
You have insomnia or?
It's not that I just wake up a lot.
Yeah. Wake up. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, that is a form of insomnia.
Yeah, and I also check my phone and, like, sometimes and I feel like disconnected from it. I need to look at it. My criticism on myself is that I've overstimulated my body, so, like, we're, like, always reading, always learning, always doing stuff, Yeah, so you're thinking all the time.
It's hard to switch
because
off.
we've got these international lives.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got people messaging or calling me, or business in China, business in England, business in LA.
Exactly.
So there's stuff going on, like, 24/7. So whenever you wake up, there's always something to do on the phone or something to reply.
Totally.
So that's something that I want to kind of improve or try and improve.
Yeah, exactly.
Over the next few years, it's improved a lot since I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
That's helped me a lot. But I wouldn't say it was like it's not been a night and day difference. I still have the same issue.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem getting to sleep. I can sleep most times.
Yeah.
It's just I wake up.
Same. So last night I woke up at 2:30. So I went to I sleep early these days because I'm up early, but probably sleep at 9:30. Woke up at 2:30. Went down, made a tea, went back to bed, put a podcast on.
Oh, 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, just listen to that. Yeah. Then at some point fall asleep.
How to Sleep podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. And then I've got a Maine Coon cat who likes to wake me up at 4 a.m. So she came over and started nibbling on my fingers. That was the second wake up. That was around 4:30. But I managed to still kind of hang out in bed until about 7. So it was an interrupted sleep, but I'm still getting kind of 7+ hours.
Okay.
Are you kind of like?
If I look on my sleep, if I look on my app on my Apple Health, I wake up about 6 times.
Times a night. Yeah.
But the deepest sleep I get is when in the morning. So I wake up by like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
and then I go back to sleep then, and I haven't got anything to do in the morning, and then I will sleep till 10 sometimes, and I get really deep sleep. The other times, since coming here, part of jet lag and travelling, I love jet lag coming back from the east to the west, because you go to bed early, you get up early, the whole life is good, and it lasts for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then you slip back into like, oh, I'm feeling tired in the morning, I don't want to get up. So I'm really enjoying the time right now, and because I've been here, a few days, and it's.
Do you take melatonin or anything like that? No. I've never taken any substances to go to sleep, but I had dinner with somebody about a week ago, and he highly recommended a thing called Enjoy the Sleep, which is a 5 milligram melatonin plus a whole bunch of other things inside.
Yeah.
And I took it once. I'm not sold, and I'm pretty sure it comes at a cost,
Well, you get addicted to it, right?
Yeah.
Because then you need it.
That's the issue.
And then part of it is what's the word for something where you believe it's going to affect
placebo.
you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Placebo effect. So.
So I'm going to keep it natural, I think.
That's awesome. Well, look, it's been a fucking great episode listening to you.
Thank you so much
for inspiring. And, I think a lot of people like to listen to my podcast. I think, oh, Spencer, you're a very successful guy. But then compared to you, you've done amazing with all your business and student.com.
I think I've been doing all the talking, but no, but that's you are one of the most fun people I've met in China. I have to say,
I'm entertaining. That's all I can say. I'm entertaining
on many levels.
It's been very great. Thank you very much, Luke.
Thank you so much, mate. Yeah.
And I'll make sure I put all the links to Luke's socials, even though he doesn't post that much on there. But you can check out student.com. If you're an amazing CEO looking for a new job, obviously,
please call me.
I highly doubt that you're going to hire anyone from Lockstock FM for student.com, but you never know. Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and I think we're going to drive back into...
Nice. Let's go take that city down.
Nice. Amazing. Yes.